Welcome to the Goodyear Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. We're excited to have you be a part of this important public process. Tonight, you will have the opportunity to address the commission on both non-agenda and agenda items. The agendas and speaker request cards are located in the back of the council chambers. You must fill out a speaker request card in order to address the commission. Please hand in your completed card to a city staff member. You may check the "I do not wish to speak" option on the card. This allows you to still voice your opinion on an item on the record without having to speak. In accordance with the Americans with Disabilities Act, please contact a staff member if you need any assistance. Public comment on a non-agenda item will take place during the citizen comment portion of the evening. These are items that don't appear on tonight's formal agenda. The commission secretary will call your name when it's time for you to speak. At that time, please approach the podium and tell us your name for the record. You'll have a maximum of 3 minutes. The timer is on the screens visible from the podium. Note that you may also choose not to speak if other speakers before you have said what you wanted to say. Shouting, cheering, and loud noises will not be tolerated, and violators may be removed for disrupting the meeting. Goodyear Planning and Zoning Commission meetings stream live on YouTube and online at goodyearaz.gov. Follow the city's social media pages so you don't miss out on all that's happening in Goodyear. Thank you for coming to this meeting and being an active part of your city. And remember, it's a great time to be in Goodyear.
Good evening. The Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for Wednesday, May the 8th, 2024 is called to order. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will the Secretary note the roll?
Of course. Commissioner Booth is present. Commissioner Hegedus is on the phone. Commissioner Kish is present. Vice Chair Sambito is present. Chairman Clymer is present. Commissioner Smith is absent. Commissioner Wang is absent. At this time, a vote shall be taken to excuse members unable to attend due to extenuating circumstances. Is there a motion and a second to excuse Commissioner Wang and Smith from the meeting?
So moved. Second?
1 moment. Oh, is it not letting you do it?
No.
Oh, okay. Turn my mic off. I have a motion from Commissioner Kish, a second from Commissioner Booth. All in favor?
Aye.
Commissioner Hegedus?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes.
Item number 1 is to approve the draft minutes of the last meeting. Will the Secretary please read the recommendation?
Approve the draft minutes of the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting held on April 17th, 2024. Can I have a motion and a second for the staff recommendation or an alternate recommendation, please? Oh, it worked on this time. I have a motion from Commissioner Booth and a second from Vice Chair Sambito. Please, whoop, that's the wrong item because it wasn't working. Okay, please enter your vote. Commissioner Hegedus,
Aye.
will you please voice your vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Now it's time for citizens who would like to address the Planning and Zoning Commission on any non-agenda items. Are there any speaker cards?
I've not received any.
Anyone in the audience wish to speak on a non-agenda item? Seeing none, we'll move on. This is an opportunity for the commission members to discuss and disclose any ex parte communications they may have had prior to this meeting on any agenda item on discussion tonight. Ex parte communication is any outside communication commissioners may have had regarding items on tonight's agenda. Anyone?
No.
No.
Okay, there is a public hearing. Tonight, and as a reminder, the Planning and Zoning Commission is a recommendation board for council. The commission will vote on each item and forward the recommendation to council. Council makes the final decision on all items. Agenda item number 2 is the Airport Commerce Center rezone. Christian Williams will speak to us on this subject.
Good evening, Chairman Clymer and Planning and Zoning Commission. My name is Christian Williams, Planning Manager here with Goodyear, and I'm presenting on behalf of my colleague Ann Domage, who's on vacation. So I said, oopsie.
Which I just
All
did.
right, it's open. And this is a request for rezoning from the applicant Joseph Osborne, and it's a rezone for property within the city. So the property is located at the southeast corner of Bullard Avenue in El Sol. That is just south of the Maricopa County Highway 85. It is southeast of the corner of Bullard Avenue in El Sol. Property is approximately 5.6 acres. It is currently undeveloped land today, and it is right here on the map with a star. If we zoom in a little closer, you can see that it is in a largely industrial area that is south of the Oots Food development. It is just west of a property that received a special use permit for Lux Locker condominiums for storage. And it is west also of the large Microsoft corporate campus that is in that area for a data center. It's also behind a business park style industrial suite area that is located just off of Bullard. And today the site is zoned an equivalent of I-1 within the Airport Commerce Center PAD development. So as noted on the previous slide, the subject property is here with the star. And it was a part of a PAD that was created back in 1985, which was originally 430 acres. That original PAD graphic is on the left. It did not come in color back then. The staff had to color it in because it was 1985. But a major thing happened. In 2018, approximately 279 acres of that PAD were pulled out of the PAD to create, this is a blow up of this over here, it was created the Microsoft PAD, which is a PAD overlay over I-1 uses, which allowed for the data center. Today, the applicant would like to rezone this property here, I'll go to the next slide, from light industrial uses to I-2 uses with a PAD overlay. Typically, we would administer that through a PAD amendment. However, because the PAD is now within 2 chunks and the legals do not match anymore, we are administering this through pulling this out of the PAD to rezone it I-2. I'd also like to point out that within the PAD, the uses immediately to the east of it are general industrial, which is effectively equivalent to I-2. So this property is a transition from general industrial to I-2 with PAD overlay to I-1. The general plan does support industrial uses in this area because it is within the general plan land use designation of industrial. So again, today's request is to rezone from underlying zoning of light industrial within that PAD to I-2 with the PAD overlay. And that request is being asked for to facilitate the ability to park trucks, not create a truck stop, but park trucks and have an office component for a trucking business. The PAD overlay also has a couple things it accomplishes. Because this property was within the Airport Commerce Center PAD, there were specific setbacks within the PAD for that development. In removing it from the PAD, because we cannot effectively modify the PAD at this point, it would lose those setback provisions. So what this PAD overlay does is provide for the same setbacks that were already afforded to this property when it was in that PAD. So its setbacks are comparable to the setbacks of the property adjacent to it. All that's changing is the I-2 designation. So the modifying, the setbacks are for the front from 50 to 25, and for the sides from 30 to 20. The PAD overlay also does restrict certain I-2 uses because this parcel is much smaller and it has reduced setbacks. Those restrictions are within the ordinance, but they are generally items that would be heavier industrial items, manufacturing type items of materials and chemicals, as well as uses that draw heavy pedestrian traffic or heavy vehicular traffic to the area. And with that, staff has evaluated the impacts of this proposed zoning ordinance with the greater community, and with no major concerns being found, staff recommends you forward an approval recommendation to rezone this property from PAD, underlying general industrial, light industrial, to I2 general industrial with the PAD overlay. Applicant is here. They do not have a formal presentation. Happy to answer any zoning-related questions you might have.
Okay, you mentioned that will be truck parking. Bullard goes by there, but there'll be very little traffic on Bullard. Doesn't Bullard dead end shortly south thereafter? Yeah.
It does, and I will point out that this section of Bullard is between the Maricopa County 85 highway, which is a major transportation corridor, and to the south of this, by about a mile, is where the SR 30 Terrestrials freeway is planned. So this section of Bullard is between two major trucking routes.
Okay, gotcha.
Christian, you mentioned that some of the excluded uses were chosen so that we avoid heavy traffic coming and going. Can you help me understand how, if it's a truck parking lot, how that might not mean that the trucks are moving in and out frequently? Are they renting a parking space for months at a time? Is there some qualifier for that?
Great question. So this is for their business operation. So you might have trucks coming and going, but really what they're trying to facilitate is that there's a great amount of industrial in the area. And one of the goals of this is when trucks would be currently violating our codes by parking on the streets, they now have a place on a property that is secure, safe, and screened to park.
Can we talk a little bit about what the screening might look like? You know, when we do the mobile home or the RV parking, we talk about the screening and what it might look like. Can we get a
Yes.
feeling for that?
Sure. I believe they are proposing along the street frontage an 8-foot-high screen wall, and the remainder of the property is going to be buffered by other businesses. So to the west, you have the Commerce Center, which has its own area. So back here, instead of doing a typical 3-foot screen wall for parking or a 6-foot screen wall for properties, I believe what's now proposed, which would be finalized at site plan, would be 8-foot screen walls, so that from the street with the landscaping, your general parking in front, you'd have those trucks behind an 8-foot screen wall. And then to the west, to the east of the site, again, is that Lux storage, so they'll have their own screen wall and protections.
And then when you talked about the setbacks, it looks like the trucks that we're seeing, the image there reflecting the shadows of future trucks parked there, that's pretty well set back itself. So
Yes.
is that little dotted area just the setback? Maybe it's the drive aisle that has that reduced setback?
I believe this is the trucking turning radius, but the setbacks are building setbacks, so you would see some landscape setbacks on the sides, I believe, but really the setback's a building setback.
So if it comes in like this, the chances are pretty good that we're not going to see much of the trucks from the sides.
Not
Maybe
much.
the littlest bit from the north there, but that's a side street, not MC 85 itself.
Correct. It's a smaller local street within this PAD, no residential in the area, a well industrial area right now where there's already trucks that are common in this area.
And where you reflected or pointed out the truck turning radius there, is that some type of an emergency access to the west there?
Unfortunately, I don't have the details of the site plan memorized like my colleague Ann does, but when
Okay.
we do
Sorry
the
about that.
site plan, we will make sure that emergency access and our emergency protocols are followed.
But it is emergency, is that to the next property?
I don't actually know what those lines are there. I believe
Okay.
it looks like a turning radius to me.
It does, but it doesn't continue down to the north-south drive aisle there. It looks like it goes to the property line and then suddenly stops. So it makes me feel like it's some type of secondary access for the trucks if something were to happen on site.
That's a great question, and we'll definitely take a look at that at site plan to make sure that they're meeting
Okay.
their emergency access.
Okay, thanks, Christian.
Welcome.
Christian, I think this is a good spot to put this particular project.
Can you
However-
turn your microphone on?
Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was on when you were in.
All right,
I'll
thanks.
check on the other.
The building in the front, there used to be a church, I believe, at one point.
It's actually a vacant site.
Now it's completely vacant.
This site is, I believe it has been vacant.
Okay.
I believe the church is the property just to the west of it. There's a strip center there.
That's what I was
Yep.
referring to. Will this at all impact their traffic or their parking or not at all?
This site will be responsible for meeting the parking requirements of I-2 and parking all of their trucks and office staff parking on this site.
I didn't know if you knew if Bullard was, because it's a pretty gnarly road right there. It's old and it hasn't been updated. Is there plans as things grow in this corridor for Bullard or there to be a light on that corner of Del Sol, or not at Bullard and the 85, or?
I have not heard of any signal warrants requiring a light to be placed there at this time, but as you know, there's a lot of commerce development to the west. So if there are any requirements for that, it would have been triggered from that development. So as the development west of Bullard comes in, they would be responsible for their half-street improvements.
Thank you.
But this site in particular is going to be put on a road that is already developed and ready to go.
Thank you.
Great question.
Commissioner Hegedus, would you have a question for Christian?
No, everything was covered pretty completely. Nice job, Christian.
Hey, do we have anything for the applicant? Any questions for the applicant? Okay, do we have any speaker cards?
I've not received any.
Anyone in the audience want to speak? Don't see anybody. Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing. And will the secretary please read the staff recommendation?
Recommend approval of the request to conditionally rezone an approximately 5.6 acre site located east of the southeast corner of El Sol and Bullard Avenue from Planned Area Development, PAD, with underlying I-1 uses to I-2 with a PAD overlay, subject to stipulations as reflected in the draft of ordinance 2024-1610. Is there a motion and a second for the staff recommendation, or you are able to voice an alternate? Okay. I have a motion from Commissioner Kish and a second from Commissioner Sambito. The floor is open for commission discussion.
I personally think this is a good opportunity for something like this to go into that facility, and I certainly don't have any objection to it. Anyone else have any discussion?
Agreed.
All right. Well, then,
Ready for the vote?
please enter your vote. And Commissioner Hegedus, if you could please voice your vote.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. Recommendation of approval will be forwarded to City Council for the May 20th meeting.
Thank you, Kristen. Are there any staff communications?
There
Kristen?
are.
Okay.
I'm here. So at your April 17th meeting, you had several items that went before you, and I would like to give you an update on how the council voted on some of those items. So at their May 6th meeting this last Monday, the minor general plan amendment located near Able Ranch, that was approved by council, as well as the companion rezoning on that 53.24 acres from AU to Business Park District. So Business Park District is now a district in the city. Well, 30 days from Monday, it will be a district that officially lives in the city. The use permit for the convenience use, Shake Shack, as everyone calls it, that was approved by council at their April 29th meeting, as well as an amendment to the zoning ordinance related to group homes. That was also approved. The amendment to the zoning ordinance related to townhomes or R1A reduced was approved at the April 29th meeting. And an item that did not move forward to council was the amendment to the zoning ordinance text amendment related to self-storage, convenience uses, and gas stations. That did not move forward, so that may come back at a later date before this body. Those are my announcements.
Thank you.
Okay, the next Planning and Zoning Commission meeting will be held on June the 12th at 6 p.m. in the Goodyear City Hall Council Chambers. There are no further business. This meeting is adjourned.